How many true fans do you need? So we all fall for the same trap. We think we need more followers, grow, 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 grow at all costs. But sooner or later we get tired of the hamster wheel and wonder what we're doing and is this all worth it? So how many followers do you actually need to be successful? Is it 1 million, 100,000, 50,000, 20,000, 10,000, 1,000, or maybe just 100? Well, not all followers are created equal. Sure, all those followers might look good on paper, but really they're just numbers on the screen and they don't really necessarily mean anything in terms of your business results or how impactful your results are. Who's to say they're even seeing your content? You know, on social media, I know on Instagram, for example, you have so many followers, but only a tiny percentage, like maybe 20% or more, only actually see your stuff. The followers don't necessarily mean much. And so it reminds me of a famous quote from J.K. Molina, which he always says, which is, likes ain't cash. So just because you're getting likes or follows doesn't necessarily mean anything's happening in terms of your business results. This reminds me of, there was that funny story from, I think it was back in 2019. There was a person on Instagram who, she had about 2.6 million followers on her account, but she failed to sell 36 t-shirts. So this mega huge influencer thought, you beauty, I've got this big crowd, let's time to cash in. And so she thought she'd just roll out these t-shirts, but I don't think they failed to meet the production requirements from the original order of the 36 t-shirts. It just goes to show that not all audiences are created equal. So you might have the numbers and you think, oh, you beauty, it's going to rain dollars. But in this case, there was a problem, and that was that nobody in the audience cared. They couldn't fulfill that initial order of t-shirts because they weren't true fans. They weren't following this person to buy t-shirts. So there is a difference between what sort of audience you have. So it really emphasizes this point around, when we're building an audience, we need to be building the right audience for what our goals are. It's not just building for the sake of building. It's a different story though for value creators. So on the other end of the scale, recent success story, which resonates with me, is the creator Jay Clouse. So he's built a loyal audience in this creator space, and he started a new community last year called The Lab, and it's done like some amazing results in a year. So basically he said he's basically had a 200 member cap and he's hit that, and that's landed him over 250 grand in revenue for 1 year. It just goes to show that having the right audience can make a huge difference. So you don't necessarily have to be some massive celebrity with millions of followers. So at the time when I was putting this together, I think Jay had about 30,000 followers on Twitter or something. And so just one of his products, out of a range of products he's got, just one of them pulled in over 250 grand. It goes to show that you don't have to have millions of followers. I know people think you need to reach for the sky, but honestly, like, you can do very well if you build the right audience. And what is that right audience? So you need true fans. Now, true fans, this phrase is thrown around a lot. And so today I want to explore what that actually means, and we'll dive back into the original article that Kevin Kelly wrote that sort of popularized this term. So true fans are those loyal people in your audience who, they adore you and they basically buy everything you put out. Here's what Kevin Kelly said in that article about true fans. A true fan is defined as a fan that will buy anything you produce. These diehard fans will drive 200 miles to see you sing. They will buy the hardback, the paperback, the audible versions of your book. They will purchase your next figurine sight unseen. They will pay for the best of DVD version of your free YouTube channel, and they will come to your chef's table once a month. If you have roughly 1,000 true fans like this, also known as super fans, you can make a living. And if you are content to make a living, but not a fortune. So yeah, I know I'm a true fan of some creators. I'll literally buy anything they put out, books, courses, movies, merch, you name it, and I'll buy it. So I'm on the journey with them. Someone who comes to mind is Tim Ferriss. So I got into him way back when his 4-Hour Work Week book came out in like 2007 or something. And then I kind of got hooked into that. And then I bought his next book and his next book. And then he started his podcast and I got right into that. And so I'm at the point now where there's that level of trust and I'm so much of a fan that anything Tim does, I'll basically support it because I'm so invested in him and his journey. He's converted me into a true fan. And there's many others I can think of like that as well. Another term thrown around is super fans. Pat Flynn comes to mind. He wrote a book called Super Fans, and he said, you don't just want the followers and the subscribers and the customers. You want to build these super fans. Here's what Pat said. Followers may like an Instagram post, customers may buy a product, but super fans will be your biggest supporters. They will promote you and your products because they know you have made a difference in their lives. They will tell their friends, they will send you encouraging emails, they'll connect with you and other fans. And so, yeah, that resonates just with the Tim Ferriss example. So the amount of people that I've either gifted that book to of his, or even my wife's basically as far removed from a business podcast person as you can be, but I was so enthusiastic about Tim and what I was learning from him that I got her into it, and she became a big fan too. So it's funny how these super fans do work on your behalf to push your product or service. So it certainly makes the marketing game a lot easier because it's a lot of word of mouth is driving it. So yeah, back to Kevin Kelly, you might be shocked to hear some of the economics that Kevin outlines to make a decent living as a creator. He says that you really only need about 1,000 true fans who will buy, say, $100 worth of your products or services yearly, and that math translates to $100,000 a year. So that's a sustainable living. That's a really good job for most people. But the caveats he says here are basically you have to create enough to basically generate $100 profit per fan. So bear in mind, as creators, we also have expenses. That $100 is profit, not just revenue. And he says it's easier to give your existing fans more than trying to develop new fans. So there's a real strength or a real asset in doubling down on those true fans. The second point he makes is that you need a direct relationship so that your fans can pay you. So no intermediary that's taking your profit. You basically want to be able to deal with that fan directly. So an email list comes to mind as an example where you've got that direct relationship. You're not going through another party like social media or like a book publisher or something. And so general fans outside of the true fans will still buy some things from you. So that obviously that profit number could be higher in reality because it's more people than the true fans will also be buying. But the true fans are your real leverage here. So, and like 1,000 people doesn't seem like that many. And there's like billions of people on social media that we can potentially connect with. So the idea that we could create enough value and develop an audience size of 1,000 people over time that's not really out of reach, So it's quite liberating to know that we don't have to reach some superstardom and be like the next Kim Kardashian to reach that success. No, you can actually do it with your 1,000 true fans. But then obviously the catch here is true fans, right? So they're not just like your audience, like general people who, let's say they're on your list, but they only read your email like twice a year. They're not really a true fan, are they? So there is an element of work here around converting them into a true fan. Yeah, so you're probably wondering like, hey, how the hell does this thing work? The internet has basically democratized the business landscape, and technology is making production and distribution easier day by day. So in effect, it's removed the middleman. Creators, they can create easily and sell directly to their audience without third-party middlemen taking all the profits. So you think in days gone by, if you wanted to make it in, say, the music industry, you needed a record label. And so your musicians would basically sign their soul away. And so the record label takes on the risk, say, for the recording studio and getting a record in stores. But the catch is they take most of the profits. They basically own you. So that was, I guess, good for getting big distribution and stuff back in the day. But now I think it's more attractive to people to be more of an owner and take a bigger piece of a more meaningful pie. So now things have changed where you can basically, in the music example, you can record your music at home on a computer. There's lots of low-cost tools, microphones and AI tools and everything that can make it really easy to basically get good quality recording at home. And then you can obviously pay freelancers or to outsource tasks that you can't do. So for example, like mixing and mastering and stuff. And so basically you can kind of get it all done and get it to your audience, say behind a paywall on your website or through, say, Spotify. And if you've got those true fans, you can make a decent living. But one of the biggest opportunities I see right now is for something I'm passionate about at the moment, and that's writing. So typically writers were seen as, for many, were like the starving artists, right? There was like those at the top of the game who obviously made millions, but then most writers just struggle like to make a living from their writing. It's something they're passionate about, but it's really hard to monetize. But now through the power of the internet, there's definitely more opportunities for writers to get paid and get paid well. It used to be back in the day that if, let's say you're a writer and you wanted to be an author of a book, then you would have to get a book deal from a publisher. And this doesn't sound like a fun process because you basically have to appease the gatekeepers. So Tim Ferriss, who I mentioned before, I remember he famously got rejected by 26 out of 27 book publishers before he scored a deal for the 4-hour work week. So could you imagine how frustrating and heartbreaking that must be to go into all these meetings and just be rejected and rejected? And so 26 times before he finally got a deal. And then obviously that book went on to influence a whole generation and carve a way for the new rich, as he coined the term. And another example here is J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author. So she famously got rejected, I think, by 12 different publishers. And obviously those books went on to become the highest selling book series of all time. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that most people would give up after a few rejections. It's rare that people push on that hard to get their thing out into the world. Imagine how many other awesome books could have been out there in the world, but they died in this rejection graveyard as that author didn't have the ability to effectively choose themselves. A gatekeeper had to pick them to be successful. Even if you did land that first deal, it wouldn't be pretty, right? So again, because you're a new author, there's not going to be much, I guess, clout on your side to really demonstrate that, hey, this is going to be a big bestseller. And so you'll get a better deal. It's not going to be nice, I don't think. So yeah, with the power of the internet and the creator economy now, you certainly have more options. And so now I thought it could be fun to go through a made up creator business example. Yeah, obviously I'm just making this up, so don't take it too seriously, the numbers in that. It's more just to show possibility. How about an alternative for the wannabe author who just got rejected by every book publisher? Firstly, let's assume that they're you. Imagine you're an excellent writer and you've got great potential. So yeah, don't let that go to your head. But so instead of wallowing in failure because you didn't get picked by the almighty book publisher, you get to work and you start taking action, and you're now armed with the tools of the creator economy. And you're not just an artist, a writer, you're also business savvy. And this is a point actually I want to make, that for the modern creators is they are very much entrepreneurs. They're not just artists. It's this hybrid sort of mix that's trailblazing the way. So yeah, you're that business savvy creator and you don't muck about. So you're determined to get paid for all this hard work and you want to keep positively impacting others. And so to do that, you obviously need to make a living doing it. You're not doing it because you're greedy, but you're doing it because it allows you to do this sustainably and live a meaningful life and serve your community. So it's very much a good feeling. It's positive vibes. I know people looking to make money sometimes gets a bad rap, but I think it's fantastic because it obviously supports the person doing all this wonderful work. Yeah, as fans, we should all be cheering on and supporting people to bring their visions to life. And yeah, in this example, let's say you start writing a weekly newsletter on Substack, because that's a free platform and easy to get started. And you then basically promote your work on social media. And over time, you build an audience. And through this process of writing the newsletter, you're effectively writing your book. So the weekly writing you do in the newsletter each week is basically chapter by chapter, building up the body of work that will become your book, but it's actually more valuable than just writing a book because you're actually getting real-time feedback from your audience. So each time you submit that newsletter, you get emails back, you get questions and queries, and you work through things. And so you're actually making it better by doing it this way. And then there's this direct communication between your audience, which becomes more invaluable as you improve each week. And so let's say then you decide to add a paid tier membership to your Substack and start earning some revenue while you're writing your book. Most authors, if they have a book deal, obviously they get an advance, and so they can live off of that as they write the book. Or if you don't have that luxury, then you would basically have to find a way to support yourself. But potentially with this example, if you had a paid membership of true fans, you're effectively getting paid to do the work, which could eventually become the book. And then say once you've got enough material, say after a year, you've got enough to package that up and you could sell it as an ebook to your true fans. So let's say that you eventually built up 5,000 people on your email list and you want to sell the book for $20. Now, so out of that 5,000, let's imagine that 1,000 of them you've cultivated into what we'll call true fans. So they're the ones that will purchase anything you put out. So that's potentially up to, say, $20,000 in revenue just for something that you're already doing anyway. So you've just taken that extra work to package up the book, sell it to your true fans at $20, and then here you go. Now, let's say the paid tier of that Substack was $100 a year. So this is the paid memberships portion. And for that, let's say you send out 2 extra monthly newsletters with your most juicy content where you dive a bit deeper, or you could have Q&As or something. And so those 1,000 true fans, let's say they took up that offer. That 1,000 true fans at $100, that's another $100,000 annual income. Now, as you build an audience with a more niche audience, it becomes attractive to sponsors. So you could also add in sponsorship to your weekly newsletter, depending on what your topic is. So let's say you place a link for sponsors in each newsletter at, say, $140 an issue for 50 issues a year. Let's imagine that's $7,000. So you can see how all these things can start to stack up if you have that audience of true fans. And now, let's say that some readers actually then they reach out to you and they say, hey, we love your writing. You're really cool. I would like to learn how you're doing this. Or maybe they don't care about the writing. Maybe they care about the business side that you managed to build up over time. Maybe they want to know about that. And then so they say, hey, will you coach me, or will you mentor me, or whatever? And so then you're like, wow, well, not only am I a writer, but people want help from me. And so that's another opportunity. So then you could offer a coaching program. Let's say you start small, out of your 1,000 true fans, you say, I'm going to do 10 people. I'm going to coach in a program of 10 people 4 times a year. And let's pretend you charge $1,000 a head for that. So there's another $40,000 a year for doing those sessions. Let's say you do a 6-week program 4 times a year, 10 people, then bang. And then so after you've done that for a while, and you've got that hands-on support working with people, the next opportunity is you can then break those core learnings from the coaching program down into a self-paced course, which you could, obviously you're not spending your one-on-one time so much then, so you could actually sell that at a more affordable price. So let's say you sell a self-paced course for $150, breaking down all your either writing or creative business teachings. And then, so let's say you sell, let's say half of your true fans buy that. So let's say 500 courses are sold at $150. So that would be another $75,000. And then so because you're showing up so well when you're doing this cool stuff, then let's say you get people want more of you. And so you get invited to speak at some corporate events. I know someone like James Clear, I know he makes a lot of money from him speaking at functions and events and stuff like that. So let's say that you get asked to speak and you don't want to become a full-time speaker. So you commit to doing 4 events a year, say, and you charge, let's just say you charge $2,000 an event. There could be another $8,000. So yeah, you can see how all these little things add up. Now, mindful that I'm just telling you this on video, so it might be going straight over your head. So I'll just recap what I went through as far as potential revenue in this example with 1,000 true fans. So there was a book, which is about $20,000, a paid newsletter, $100,000, sponsorship, $7,000, group coaching, $40,000, courses, $75,000, and then speaking, $8,000. And so the total of that is $250,000. So that's pretty cool. Like 250 grand for doing something you love. There's no gatekeepers. There's no intermediaries. Obviously you have to pay some fees to, say, the Substack example, like platform fees and stuff. But like, as far as you're not giving up a piece of your pie ownership to someone in a sense. And then, but yeah, that's awesome. Like I find that fascinating. I don't know about you, but it blows my mind how much of an opportunity that is, that we could be doing meaningful creative work that lights us up and really impacting the world in a positive way and making a good living. And yeah, what an opportunity we have today to express that creativity, build an audience, and get paid. Now, obviously that's just a made up example. So I literally just made all those numbers up, plucked them out of air. And in reality, it's actually much harder. So it's really hard to show up consistently over a year when you're starting. And then also it's obviously, there's got to be the quality of work. It's got to be a really high standard. And then you've obviously got to build an audience, which is hard in itself. There's a lot of work that goes into building an audience, and then not only building an audience, but also the true fan audience. So It's honestly something that takes years. It's not a get rich quick scheme or anything like that. But from all the creators I've studied, it's taking them years to get there. But the vision of what's possible though is really exciting to me in the sense that I think it's worthwhile putting in that work and making that journey over time. Now, obviously, the sooner you start, the better, because those all those lessons and efforts and audience building, it all compounds and eventually blows up. Obviously, they say behind every overnight success, there was like years and years of hard work. So it's never as simple as it seems. Yeah, let's say maybe I was too optimistic in that example I just said there, but so even if say only 25% of our 1,000 True fans took up each of those offers that I listed, that still works out to about 60 grand. So there's still, even if you don't reach the 1,000 True fans, there's still a lot of potential there for enough income to basically survive and keep building. And then obviously it can go the other way as well. Maybe I was too conservative with 1,000. Maybe you're the kind of person with a really engaged audience putting out great work, and maybe you've got 5,000 True fans. So if it goes the other way, obviously the potential is huge as well. Yeah, you might be wondering like, hey, why are you messing with me here with this example? But obviously I'm just trying to spark some possibility in your mind, and I hope some light bulbs are going off and some of your limiting beliefs are being challenged. I know when I was first starting out on this journey, it really helped me to see some examples and potentials, because otherwise you just don't really know or believe it. But when you break it down like that between those different revenue streams, you can see how it all can come together to be a decent living, and you can sort of see how it can all stack. So for example, we showed how the weekly newsletter built into the book and then built into the membership. And so and then became the coaching and the course. So it's not you're doing all these isolated things. They all feed into the same machine. So that's really cool, I think, as well, in that you can do it very smartly so that each part of the process is leveraged. So yeah, but obviously this isn't for everyone, right? So yeah, back to Kevin Kelly, he said, the truth is that cultivating 1,000 True fans is time consuming, sometimes nerve-wracking, and not for everyone. Done well, and why not do it well, it can become another full-time job. At best, it would be consuming and challenging, and part-time, that task requires ongoing skills. There are many creators who don't want to deal with fans and honestly should not. And so, yeah, I just want to say, like, it's freaking painful trying to build an audience. It's a lot of work, and it's work that most people won't commit themselves to. And obviously, Kevin made the point on the True fans and the maintenance, and not everyone wants to deal with fans. Like, fans can be intense for some people, like in terms of questions and responses, and you definitely have to show up and give some love. And not everyone is cut out or wants to do that. Some people like to just do their own thing privately. But I guess that comes down to the kind of audience you build. So you can, I guess, as you're building, you're training your audience, how you work together in a sense. It's worth acknowledging that it's not so like black and white here. Like, it's more of a best of both worlds scenario. So the truth is that many creatives operate under a hybrid model where, say, they have a full-time job or a part-time job outside of the creating. And so that helps to make this work. And then also, if they've gone full creator, like say the author example, maybe they've got a hybrid model where they've actually got a book deal with a publisher, but then they've got a paid newsletter that they do themselves. And say the strength of the email list drives more book sales. And then that becomes a flywheel in the sense that the major publisher promotes the book on a grander scale, which drives more subscribers. And then it sort of goes around in a circle. So you can see how you can get the benefit of both worlds. It doesn't have to be all one way or the other. Maybe we don't even need 1,000 True fans anyway. So this is something interesting to ponder, is that what if times have changed and we can actually find that sustainable living without 1,000 True fans? An article comes to mind from the venture capitalist Li Jin, who wrote an article in 2020 called 100 True fans. And so she outlined that the creator landscape had changed since 2008 when Kevin Kelly wrote the 1,000 True fans article. So she outlined how the creator landscape had changed since 2008 when Kevin Kelly wrote the 1,000 True fans article, and it's now possible to make more from fewer fans, so even only 100 fans. So here's what Lee said. Today, the idea is as salient as ever, but I propose taking it a step further. As the passion economy grows, more people are monetizing what they love. The global adoption of social platforms like Facebook and YouTube, and the mainstreaming of the influencer model, and the rise of new creator tools has shifted the threshold for success. I believe that creators need to amass only 100 true fans, not 1,000, but paying them 1,000 a year, not 100. So creators can effectively make more money off fewer fans. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So basically, she's saying there that instead of having 1,000 fans and you're charging $100 or getting $100 profit, you actually got only 100 fans, but you're able to charge $1,000 or land $1,000 profit. The 100 true fans model is based on more value to the user, whereas the 1,000 true fans model that was Kevin Kelly's was more about, I guess, a donation to support the creator. So here's Lee again. This represents a move away from the traditional donation model in which users pay to benefit the creator to a value model in which users are willing to pay more for something that benefits themselves. What was traditionally dubbed self-help now exists under the umbrella of wellness. People are willing to pay more for exclusive ROI positive services that are constructive in their lives, whether it's related to health, finances, education, or work. Effectively, creators under the 100 true fans model, so they understand their audience's desire for self-improvement and transformation, so they can charge more. So they're not just producing some kind of collectible, they're actually actively transforming lives. So think the difference between if you've got who can I think of? So let's say you've got a musician who you've got a band that you love, and then you buy like the t-shirt or an album or something for, between $20 to $50. And then, but say if you invest in a personal development coach, you're going to be looking to spend $1,000 or more, because they're actually, rather than just getting, say, a t-shirt, you're getting your life's actually getting changed. So you're willing to spend more. And so Lee then continues around the monetization side of this. So she says, the key to monetizing at $1,000 per fan per year is tailored offerings at tiered levels. So here's Lee Jin continuing on. The key to monetizing at $1,000 per fan per year is tailored offerings priced at tiered levels. A creator might have a broad follower base on free social platforms and then convert some of those followers into one-time purchases or patrons, and then up-level some of those to high-paying super fans. But for founders and operators, that means building products that align monetization with the end user value. So I don't know about you, but I'm very excited by that prospect. My sort of grand dream was to leave corporate life behind and then find fulfillment through creating and, I guess, dancing to my own tune and building something that's exciting and meaningful to me. And now sort of knowing that rather than having to build some millions audience, it could potentially be 1,000 or even 100 at a high price. That's really, really amazing. I just wanted to continue on now to say that you might actually have some true fans and you don't know it. People are silently lapping up your content. So another thing I noticed is that the people who mostly appreciate our work and are willing to buy from us may rarely actually like our content or comment on it. So the people who mostly like and comment on your posts are usually other creators, and they're usually looking to get their name in front of your audience. It's very self-interested. So they aren't really looking to buy from you at all. They probably don't really care about you that much. They literally just want to get their shameless self-promotion on your stuff and poach, I guess, some of your followers. But I had an example recently where someone reached out from one of my content posts for coaching services, and I don't know how long they've been following me, but I couldn't remember them ever liking or commenting on anything. But they said they'd been following my content for a while and it had been hitting them home for them. So every post I was doing was landing and adding up in their mind, and then pushing them to make changes in their life and do better in certain ways and their business. And yeah, they said how they greatly benefited from all this free content that I was putting out. And then eventually one post tipped them over the edge and pushed them to reach out and say that they wanted to dive deeper through coaching. Yeah. So, and when this happened at first, I was kind of shocked, because I was like, well, firstly, not because I didn't believe in the power of my content. I really believe in the content and the message, but I was shocked in the way that when you're being a newish creator myself, you often feel like you're just posting to the void. You don't get much feedback. Or like I said, the feedback you do get, they're actually other creators and you know that they're doing it self-interestedly. Or so you kind of feel like, oh, no one's listening. Is this really working? But no, that's not true. Like people are watching and quite often they're a silent majority. So I guess the other group of people that quite often comment that I hadn't mentioned is the trolls. So obviously there's the negative people that will quite happily comment because they've only got their own problems in their life. But there is that silent majority of people who are getting value from your work. And so it's important to keep showing up, even though you might not be getting the feedback. One day, one of your posts will tip one of these fans over the edge, and then they'll come knocking on your door, metaphorically, and say, hey, that's it. I've got to change. It's not happening by myself. I'm in, whatever whatever your offer is. So I can't express how good it feels to feel that validation that you have been helping people. And even if it's only in a small way, because it just brings so much more purpose to your work and it pushes you on through those dark times where maybe you feel like you're not getting results or you feel so far behind everyone else. But trust me, every little action you do is compounding, even though it may not feel like it. It's all quietly adding up in the background. Yeah, keep showing up. And yeah, one day that first true fan will reach out and you'll be pleasantly surprised. So I thought I'd just wrap this piece up with a few reflection questions to help you move forward. So number 1, what are you building an audience for? 2, given your future monetization plans, are you building the right audience? And 3, are you consistently showing up to develop and nurture your true fans? And then finally here, I'll give you a quote to ponder as you go on your way. So this is one from another one of my favorite creators, Nathan Barry. Here goes. I started watching Game of Thrones after they had released 5 seasons. Pat Flynn had released at least 100 episodes of his podcast before I even knew he existed. I discovered Hardcore History years after Dan Carlin started producing it. This is such a common experience. There is so much content being produced that we can't possibly discover it all. So instead, we wait for the best content to float to the surface after time. If step 1 in building an audience is to create great content, step 2 is to endure long enough to get noticed. Thank you. So I just want to let that final point there sink in from Nathan Barry. If step 1 of building an audience is creating great content, step 2 is to endure long enough to get noticed. It definitely ties back into what we said before. So you've got to keep showing up and you've got to push through those dark days where you think nobody cares or nobody's watching. But it's all building slowly in the background and those true fans are being cultivated. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments. And if you want to get more support on your journey towards creative fulfillment, join my weekly newsletter where each week I write a deep dive around a topic that will help you on your journey of personal growth. You can find that at mattkhead.com. And thanks. I'll see you next time.